Brian Siskind, thanks for talking with us on the front row.
Oh, thank you for having me.
This program that you're going to be putting on this weekend at the Rothko Chapel actually has its roots in a sort of personal transformative experience you had with Mark Rothko's art.
Well, yeah.
Tell us that story.
Well, yes. About 4 or 5 years ago, I went to London and I stopped into the Tate Modern. And I saw this dark room. I was curious. I go in and I realized that there's all these Rothko murals in there that are from the Seagram's commission that he did. And I just ended up sitting there for probably a couple of hours, and I had a pretty deep sort of feeling about those paintings. And at first they were sort of confrontational, but then you kind of get immersed. And so I don't know. I was really affected by those paintings, and I realized that I'd never had that kind of experience before with visual art. So after that, I went to Rome and Pompeii and some other places, and found out later that that's where he had gone for inspiration for that commission. And I felt like I was seeing a lot of the same things. So it kind of gave me this sense of commonality with him and his work that I felt was kind of profound. And so I just kind of took it from there.
Well, then you had to make another trip, which in effect sort of became a pilgrimage to come here to Houston to sit in the chapel and kind of absorb that space.
Yeah, I mean, I'd heard about the chapel, and so yeah, I just decided to come and really explicitly just for that purpose only. And I went there for 2 days, really, and just sat there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was sort of an eye opener because I just didn't realize that I mean, obviously art can be affecting in so many ways, but so deeply, so profoundly that I just couldn't help but take notice. And the space is so amazing, and so I just kind of got the idea at that time, like it would be really great to do something there musically.
Which ties in very nicely with the year-long series of 40th anniversary celebration events that are going on at the Rothko.
It's really exciting, and
including this summer music series in which 4 artists from very different fields of music are coming in to put on programs that somehow address the spiritual side of music.
Yeah.
So talk about what you're going to be doing this Saturday at the Rothko.
Well, yeah. I mean, given that the Rothko Chapel has a pretty specific focus in terms of spirituality and art and human rights, I really wanted to sort of focus what I've been doing musically in different areas towards those. I wanted to align myself with what they're doing, and I thought about doing a music project there that would be not a typical concert in the sense, but something that's more of like maybe more along the lines of an installation, and more of like an experience or something to that effect. It's not necessarily highly performative on my part. It's more about creating an environment that works with what is already there. And so I did a lot of research in terms of the architecture and the design and the spirit of the place, and really put together a plan in terms of acoustics and the music and everything to sort of accentuate what's going on as opposed to sort of impose myself on it or use it as a stage, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I wanted to do something that sort of allows people to come in and have an experience, something where it's interpretive and it's personal, but it's also shared and within the goals of the chapel and their mission.
All right. So for a number of years, one of the many areas of music you have explored and been active in is what's generally identified under such labels as ambient music, beatscape. So you're going to create an ambient sort of meditative sonic atmosphere here within the space of the chapel this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of field recordings that I've made from all these different places. So there's like very sort of kind of cinematic aspects to it in that way, but then there's also ambient textures and things that I've made through various means using lap steel guitars or old synthesizers or just editing raw sounds and putting things together. So it's really sort of like a pastiche of a lot of different things that I kind of stitched together into sort of a collage that has a sort of a narrative and a chronology, and it doesn't stop. It's sort of relentless. but that's also, I think, somewhat in line with the nature of the art and the feeling that's there. It's pervasive. You have to get with it, you know.
But it's relentless, not in a sort of edgy, enervating way, but again, you're creating within the context of this sacred space, a meditative.
Yeah, I mean, I took a lot of
atmosphere.
cues also just from, I mean, the fact that it's an octagonal design really speaks to what acoustic possibilities are natural to that environment, and being familiar with the materials and the sound that's in there. And then also, the idea that the chapel is designed to defy a lot of Western traditions in terms of there's not a central apse with an elevated stage or altar.
It's not set up like an ordinary,
Yeah,
familiar
and it's kind of all around
Christian or Jewish
Yeah.
church sanctuary.
Right.
Right.
And so I kind of wanted the music to be put together in the same mentality. It's something that's going to be sort of around you, and you find your space within.
So you've made some decisions on how physically the room is going to be set up. Describe
Yeah, well,
how you're taking the focus away from yourself and making sure that it's on the music.
yeah. The idea of putting, a typical musician audience type of arrangement and in a place that's really designed to defy that just made no sense to me.
Okay.
So I just thought, it really just started with where is the sound going to come from, and so if it's going to come from around the room, then where can I be and where can I be out of the way? Because I don't want to stand in front of a Rothko mural for any reason, honestly. So,
right. Got it.
Why would I be in that space and stand in front of one of those murals? So I'm putting myself in the center of the room, and then everyone will be sort of concentrically around me, facing away from me,
Facing outward.
And
there will be speakers positioned around the periphery, pointing
Right.
back toward the center.
Right.
Okay.
So that just seemed to be the most logical thing to me. I guess it does sort of defy typical performance paradigms and things like that, but to me it's just about being as specific to the site and the environment as possible.
Can you say a little more about some of the content of the audio tracks that you have prepared that you will be mixing into this collage? For instance, what are some of the environmental sounds that you've made use of?
Well, I'm a big fan of the mundane. I mean, there's a lot of music happening around all the time, so there's traffic and there's just different scenes that I sort of encountered, street scenes and things like this in Europe, and the openness of like the amphitheater in Pompeii and the birds, and a lot of times those recordings are presented unto themselves where you can really sort of get a sense of what it is, but they're also used to sort of hold up or embellish musical sounds, and they give a sense of space and environment that is subtle. So sometimes they're used on their own, and then sometimes they're blended into other things, and then sometimes these recordings, the field recording aspect of it, honestly, I use it a lot to sort of maintain a temporal sort of plane, because the music will come and go in different ways, and it's not live performed music. It's really music that's put down in different ways and edited and pieced together. And so the field recordings kind of provide this temporal sort of spine to everything that I find valuable. It is in a way sort of like a canvas.
Okay. You have prepared a little radio mix here for us of a sort of a sample of the sonic environment that you're going to be creating Saturday at the Rothko Chapel, and we're going to listen to that now. Tell us just a little bit about what we're going to hear here.
Yeah, well, actually what you're going to hear is really the initial part of the program. It kind of begins with a sort of invocation that is a mixture of a couple of things. One is I was riding my bike around Brooklyn, and I stumbled upon these Bhutan monks doing a demon subjugation dance on the waterfront, and they had just come from Bhutan the day before and never been to America.
Wow.
I mean, it seems weird to record a dance, but that's what I was doing. So you can kind of hear their feet and some of their instruments and things. But so there's some of that, and then it kind of moves on into more what I do in terms of ambient sort of drones that are made with pedal steel and lap steel and synthesizers. And it kind of moves through some different stages. It's really just the initial part of the program is what you're getting in this excerpt that I sent you.
All right, so we're going to hear the beginning of Brian Siskind's Beat Hollow piece that he's going to be presenting at the Rothko Chapel on Saturday afternoon. You're listening to The Front Row on Houston Public Radio. We've heard the opening few minutes of the sonic environment, the meditative Beat Hollow piece that Brian Siskind will be presenting as part of the 40th anniversary summer music series at the Rothko Chapel this Saturday afternoon. And Brian, we thank you for visiting with us today on the front row and for bringing your music to us.
Thank you so much, Bob.